And Izzy kind of fell into our lap and I fell into his lap. You know, it was a win-win for both of us. He had just got thrown out of Iowa. He came back home. I was in his dad's club. You know, I still remember like it was tomorrow. He just showed up in the room one day, you know, in his flip-flops. And this is when he was skinny and back in the day, you know, still crazy and wild. And I'm looking over like, that guy kind of looks familiar. Who is that? And, you know, you hear people talk about him. You know, when he shows up in the room, it was a pretty big deal. My mom and my brother, my oldest brother, Frankie, you know, were really close with Izzy. They grew up together and they started talking, did some privates with him. And it came to the point where I was like, why don't we just start our own club?
Oh, wow.
And that became when him and his dad kind of started having a little bit of, you know, beef back and forth, because Izzy came in, was doing privates with me, took me out of his club, started his own club, and basically me, Izzy, and a few other kids started Izzy Style Wrestling.
And I didn't know that.
And it just so happened to be that like I had so much success, you know, right away with winning state titles, going to Iowa, performing. And it was early on in his career where I think other parents or kids might have saw the success I was having and really paved the way. Like, yeah, we're sending our kid to him.
Yeah.
The club kind of blew up from there.
So you never even went to like a single overtime practice?
I went to overtime one time, and it was because I had to for cadet trials camp.
I was gonna say, what about like junior duels and all that?
It was like junior duels camp or something like that where I had to go.
Yeah.
And that was the only time I ever stepped foot in the building.
Man, I had no idea that's how it started. Cause I remember, you know, like the Fox Valley splitting off to Martinez, and then it was Martinez Fox Valley lead at Sheridan. And then I kind of got away from it when it all split up to Izzy Style. So anyway, man, I just never knew how that all transpired. And obviously,
yeah, it was like four of us. It was like me, my brother, Mark Stenberg, Colton Rashi. That was like the main core that started. And then a couple of our Glenmar North kids that we were close with started to come over. You know, the Montini kids started to come in once, you know, Martinez Elite was out of Montini. Izzy Style was in Montini. Mm-hmm. Izzy started getting in with Coach Boo and kind of helping with that program. And it's really funny because I wasn't going to go to Glenmar North. I was actually shopping around options of maybe going to Blair Academy. I took the test to get into Blair.
Montini?
I was going to Montini. Like I was going because of Izzy.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, my older brother, Frankie, had made a promise to Coach Han that my brothers will wrestle for you. He wrestles for him. He's like, my brothers are going to wrestle for you. And Han didn't believe him. He's like, dude, these guys moved in second grade. There's no way you guys are keeping this promise that they're going to come back and wrestle for me. So Vince, who's my middle brother, he goes back, he wrestles. You know, we're in Carroll Stream, and I'm in 8th grade, and I'm kind of on the fence of like, I don't think I'm going to go there. It was almost like my college recruiting where I love my brother, I love my family, but I didn't feel it was the best place for me at that time. Mm-hmm. Like I felt going with Izzy and doing what I was doing, I was going to have so much success and, you know, accomplish everything in the world. But my older brother, Frank, sat me down and said, there is no chance you're going to Montini. He's like, it's not happening. If, you know, I'm going to be funding you, I'm going to be helping you, you are going to Glenmar North. We made a promise. That's what you're doing. You're keeping your word. And that's kind of when it really hit to me of these morals, like keeping your word, doing what you said you're going to do. That was one of the first real, you know, sit down conversations I've had, you know, as a young kid about that. So we go to Glenmar North, and that's when we made the choice of, yeah, I'm going to go to Glenmar North, but I'm still going to get my extra practices in with Izzy and make sure I'm doing all that too. So I had, you know, a lot of training, a lot of workouts, a lot of practices, and we made it work.
That's tough because you didn't make that promise. Your brother did without knowing any, you know, I know how your career progressed. So you ended up getting there. What was your like daily high school routine when you were really in the thick of it?
I was a workhorse. I was, you know, the work never bothered me. It still doesn't bother me to this day. You know, I'm going to give it everything I can. So, you know, we would have our morning workouts before school with Glenmar North, like 6 or whatever it was. And then we would have our afternoon practice. And then some nights I would go up and go practice at Izzy Style afterwards. You know, it just really depended what part of the season we were in. Mm-hmm. Obviously, when we were in the thick of the high school season, I spent most of my time at high school. But, you know, early preseason, once, you know, season ended, I was always with Izzy, you know, consistently working hard, getting pushed, getting screamed and yelled at. And he's calm compared to what he is now. And he tells his guys all the time, he's like, you guys think you had it rough? Like, imagine how the guys had it when I first started out and I was out of college. So
How do you mean?
fun.
How do you mean? Do you have any stories?
Oh, I got way too many stories. Probably a lot that I couldn't tell.
Well,
Me
to that
and
point,
Izzy used to fight, not like physically, but like we would get in arguments with each other. But I always knew like what he said is what I believed in, and I was going to do it no matter how much I wanted to piss and moan at him.
yeah. How much of a motivator is he? Like, I guess what makes him a great motivator? Because that's what really jumps out to me.
Yeah, I think that's where he is awesome. He knows what to say. He knows how to motivate you. He knows how to get you going, and he has a lot of success. And that might be the downfall with some of the kids he has too. Is he was so good at it. I think when they leave him, they struggle. They struggle because the way he coached or the way he teached or the way he motivated and pushed them, they're not getting it where they're at next. And it's tough. You go into college, there's a lot of different motivators, as we all know, that can pull you a lot of different ways. And you don't have Izzy there, setting you straight, because he's going to tell you exactly how it is. And some college coaches are afraid to really tell the student athletes how it is because it's so easy to leave nowadays.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's, it's a fine line you got to go back and forth between.